Good evening, I'm Jeff Lyons. It is 9 o'clock here, time for the First Alert Weather Show at 9. Remember, we do this every night, 9 o'clock, give you all the weather and then some, and some specials along the way too. We have a couple of goodies to get to here in just a couple of minutes. If you want to comment in, you can do that on the 14 News Facebook page, and I'll check your comments here as we get into the program. So we still have a First Alert Weather Day in place for the remainder of tonight and tomorrow. We actually did get a severe thunderstorm warning in Hopkins County. I'll show you that in a moment. It expired early. And you see we have a flood watch over much of Illinois, Indiana, and far southern, Kentucky rather, and far southern Indiana. We have had some storms that produced over 5 inches of rain in one whack over in Missouri. So that's the kind of atmosphere we're dealing with. Tuesday, same thing. We have that area that could generate a few severe thunderstorms on Tuesday. A main threat would be damaging wind gusts, but we can't rule out a spin-up tornado, although the risk is very low for that. The greater concern will be for flooding under those storms, especially if they go over the same area repeatedly. Couple things to tell you about the radar tonight. First off, if you've been trying to look at the radar either on our app or, Radar Scope, Radar Omega, the Weather Service at Paducah is having a communications outage. And so no radar data is getting into the system from Evansville, Paducah, or Hopkinsville down there at Fort Campbell. And so if you've been looking at the radar and thought, well, that looks weird, it's because the nearest radar to light up these storms is sitting over near Fort Knox there in Louisville or near Louisville. And so we can't really give you much of the detail we would typically see, like winds, velocities, that sort of thing, because of the distance of the radar. Hopefully this communications outage will be solved, tomorrow maybe before we get to our next round of storms. But just in case you were wondering why the radar might look a little different, or maybe you haven't noticed, but for those of us that look at it all the time, of course, we realize this is very hotter. The returns here are going to be a lot stronger and scarier looking than they might actually be. Earlier we had a severe thunderstorm warning for Hopkins County. It came right up here to about Earlington, but that was dropped early, and most of the energy in this storm is now closer to Hopkinsville. I can zoom that in. This is probably easier to see here if I do it that way. And what's happening here is we had some thunderstorms that were lined up in Missouri, and these are the ones that made it all the way into the tri-state. They will more than likely kind of curve down south, more toward Nashville than, say, Greenville or Muhlenberg County. But we are going to get some thunder there and some heavy rainfall too. So be mindful of flash flooding under these storms, as they might be prolific rainmakers. The atmosphere is loaded with moisture. That dew point's at about 75 or so. And so it's going to be really muggy overnight, and we have that potential then for the thunderstorms to produce heavy rain. Here's the model, and it's pretty close. It's a little bit behind where the actual showers are, and you see rain moving across. And then by early tomorrow morning, we have more scattered thunderstorms developing, and then by early afternoon, we may see a few more that fire across the region. After those move on, the entire axis for thunderstorms and that will actually lift back to the north up by Chicago, and that's going to leave us in a hot, humid air mass then for the remainder of the week. We will pick up our first 90-degree temperatures beginning Wednesday. 79 out there now. There's that dew point at 73, so the relative humidity at 82%. Some of you have asked if you can see the northern lights tonight. I don't know if they're even up there because although we had a geomagnetic storm, the conditions are favorable. With the cloud cover and the atmosphere being what it is, I think it would be tough to see them in a meaningful way. You might get lucky if we have the northern lights and if you get some breaks in the clouds, but I think generally, no, you're not going to be able to see them. Temperature still hugging the 80-degree mark where it hasn't rained, and because of that warmth in the atmosphere, we will kind of supercharge things tomorrow, move right up. We don't have a high or low temperature for Evansville because of the communications outage, but I can tell you we got up to 86 today and down to about 73 this morning. So very muggy out there. Our temperature slightly cooler than it was last night at this time, but not by much. And we'll go ahead here to the bigger picture. We don't have any climatological data coming in other than stuff that we added by hand to the graphics because the Weather Service can't send that stuff out until they get the wire fixed, whatever that is. We had 89 today. We will likely, or I'm sorry, we don't know. We had 86 today. And we are waiting then to see when those 90s arrive, more than likely on Wednesday. Rainfall at the station and at the airport was at about a half an inch. Now, if you're watching me in Madisonville, and I know we've got Laura Gray down there and Dawson Springs and some of our other regulars, you probably have had a lot more rain than what I'm showing you here. This is just what our gauge shows. So we'll check in here with your reports if you have them in a minute. But for the month, we're still behind by about 0.6. And the biggest concentration of severe weather is actually out here in the plains. That's going to get kind of shunted to the north. And we will get just a couple of disturbances through here to generate our thunderstorms during the day tomorrow. After that, you'll notice things kind of quiet down and the clouds disappear. And that's when we start to warm things up in a big way then for the middle of the week. We could feel our first heat index values at about 100 to 105. So this is flipping the page pretty quick on the hot stuff, considering last week was so pleasant. And then we keep those 90s in there for Wednesday, Thursday. For the end of the week and the weekend, we pull back a little bit, and we will have a continued chance for showers and thunderstorms pretty much each day, although those chances wane a bit beginning Saturday and Sunday. And then by Sunday night and Monday, we have a return of kind of unsettled weather, maybe some more rain early next week. Rain potential is these numbers will be pretty big, I'm sure, as we look at the total here. Now, this is a 1 week total, 1.5 inches, and that's probably, could be a little low depending on how many of the thunderstorms hit your rain gauge. On the European, we are dry through the weekend as well, and then we have rain moving in on Sunday evening and Monday. And the European also advertising some healthy rain totals out there. We need it, so that's not a bad thing if we picked up 1.5 inches of rain in the next week. Typically in June we get about 1 inch a week, or we hope for that, to keep everything growing. 72 tonight with some scattered showers and storms. Same for tomorrow, up to 88. And over the next 7 days, we have temperatures above normal, well above normal Wednesday, Thursday, and then near normal for the weekend and the start of next week, and a daily chance for rain. Temperatures on the longer range look like they might cool a bit for the middle of June, below normal in other words, and wetter than normal too. That's a good combination. That way we don't evaporate off all the rain that we pick up. All right, in lieu of a pet picture tonight, we have a train picture. You know, William Raleigh is on here quite a bit too, and he made the trip, I think he went to Fort Wayne, in northern Indiana. And the story is the Union Pacific Railroad has this gigantic steam locomotive. I believe it's the largest operating steam locomotive in the world. William can fill us in on those details, but the point here is that they fired it up and it's making a trip across the country, and part of that trip was across northern Indiana. It was through Chicago or near Chicago, and then came through, I think, South Bend, Fort Wayne, and then on into Ohio. I think it was at Cleveland a little while ago, and really impressive. If you've never seen a steam engine up close operating, it's terrifying. I mean, it's impressive, but I've seen 2 steam engines in operation in my lifetime. One was in 1976, bicentennial year. They had the Freedom Train coming across the country. I don't think it was that locomotive, but it was a big one. And we went to watch it come in to Howell Yards in Evansville. And that thing blew by, and you couldn't believe the sound that thing made, throwing out cinders and smoke and everything else. And then the other steam engine was a small one. I went up the Durango and Silverton narrow gauge railroad in Colorado, and you get on at Durango, and this train follows the river all the way through the mountain pass and goes up to Silverton up at the top. A friend of mine actually got married on that train. He's a little eccentric. Anyway, we were a lot younger then too. But anyhow, so yeah, I'm glad William got to see that. Let me see what your questions are tonight. Hopefully you got a couple here for me to bounce off of. Otherwise, I'll bore you with another personal weather story. I'll tell it anyway. I'm going to bore you anyway, whether you like it or not. Okay, let's see here. There's Laura Gray watching from Dawson Spring. Raining big time. Okay, see, I knew she'd be in there. Jeanette Rice, good evening. Nikki Fry, good evening. Have family traveling from Evansville to Cincy tomorrow. Will they have any major problems? I don't think so. I mean, we're going to have some rain and thunderstorms, but they can certainly kind of check in the morning before they head out. They should be ahead of the weather because it'll be coming in from the west. The storm development will be. JD Rapp, any severe weather Thursday? SPC has highlighted something else for Thursday. Yeah, not us. Thursday is day 4 on the outlook, so that would be to the north of here. Adam Lewig, so we're dry Wednesday, Thursday. Adam's always trying to run cars. I'm always afraid. Every time I've told you it'll be dry, they get mudded out. I'm not sure if that's what you're doing or not. But yeah, Wednesday, Thursday, generally dry, hot and humid. Can't rule out an isolated shower or thunderstorm. Lenny Howard, don't know why I can't get Facebook notifications on when you go live at 9. Well, I don't either. Facebook is Facebook, and I'm, kind of over Facebook on our end of it. I mean, I love hearing from you all and seeing your pictures, but dealing with all their details, the way we do it is we send out a push notification on our weather app. You can watch this program, by the way, on the app or on the 14 News channel. For some reason, Facebook doesn't always, they used to notify you when somebody was live, and they doesn't do it on mine either. So I don't know. This is, Lenny Howard hates scrolling to find it. Yeah, I get that. If you go on, if you just make a habit of going on at 9 o'clock and you go to 14 News, it should be the first thing, because unless they posted above me, but it's usually the first thing in there. Stacy McKee, how old was I in 76? Well, I was 12 years old. So, and I'm going to tell you a story about, actually 1982, because today's a significant weather date there. Science Corner, what causes humidity? Well, that's a good shot too. Oh, okay, wait a minute. We got all kinds of stuff here tonight. William Raleigh, that picture I shot, this is Fostoria, Ohio. Okay, it's the largest steam engine ever built and operating. Okay, I got that part right. I thought you told me Fort Wayne, but that's all along that line up there. I don't know if they were on the old, is that the B&O or the Pennsylvania? I'm not sure which line the old line was. It goes through downtown Fort Wayne and then across Ohio. Let's see. Carolyn Lovelace, hello from Hobstadt. Any chance of more rain? Got my plants out on the edge of the patio to get some. Oh yes, there is. There is definitely a chance of rain again tomorrow. Chris Smith says he gets a notification every night. Well, maybe back to Lenny, maybe it's your notifications. Maybe you need to turn them on. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Somehow or rather, do what I do and get a kid to figure it out for you. They know. They'll go in there and give me that phone, and they'll fix it for you. Any kid will do. Neighborhood kid, just somebody. If you can get them off their phone long enough, right? And Cheyenne replied, have a reminder set on my phone in case I'm busy. Okay, well, Cheyenne does it that way. You people are loyal. You are loyal to this stream, and I appreciate that very much. I was going to tell you 2 things. One was about the Freedom Train. That was in 1976, the bicentennial year. And at that time, here in Evansville, the railroad tracks ran down Division Street, right now where the Lloyd Expressway is. And so the Freedom Train came into town from the south, came over the Henderson Bridge, and then through Howell Yards, and then it went out and through the Y, and then they backed it up, and they backed it down Division Street, and then there was a little spur that went right behind where the C.K. Newsom Center is today. It was there then too, I guess. And the back then it was called the Pasco building. I think it's called the Curtis building now, that big red brick building. It used to have a big Coca-Cola sign on it. And they pulled the Freedom Train right in there. And then they were like passenger cars, but they had been changed into museum exhibit cars. And then you waited in line, and then you went through the train. And it was the coolest thing. I still, for many years, I had a penny that the Freedom Train had run over just south of Howell Yards on the line there that comes in. So that was one story. The second story was, today's June the 8th, and I suspect many of us here on the stream are old enough to remember the June 8th, 1982 storm. Now, I was 18 when that happened. It was my high school graduation was supposed to have been that day. And at noon, we had this, the shelf cloud came in, and it was shelfier than any shelf cloud I'd ever seen. I was not particularly attuned to weather that day. We had a lot of other stuff going on, high school graduation and all. And anyway, the wind from that storm picked up, and I believe at Evansville Regional, they recorded a gust, I want to say it was around 79 or 80 miles an hour. It was significant. But across town, there were areas that probably had wind that was stronger than that. I never saw a radar image of it. The only channel that was showing radar at that, well, I guess 14 would have been too, but channel 7 was showing, anyway, but the radar was not what it is today. And it was just this, blinking red blob coming out of Illinois. I think today, and I don't know all the particulars about how long, it was producing damaging wind and all. It probably would be classified as a derecho, as a wind event. Many people insisted it was a tornado, and there were trees that were twisted in that, but no one saw a funnel, and the Weather Service never classified it as a tornado. And people, of course, being people griped about that for many years. But the bottom line was it did incredible damage across Evansville, Henderson, Owensboro, Rockport. Pretty much it went right along the river. There was a grade school class, and I can't remember what school they were from. It was like Lodge or somewhere. Anyway, they were out. We used to have this excursion steamboat called the Julia Bell Swain, and they were out on this boat, and the storm came in, and they had to get them. It was exciting for them, I'm sure, and they had to evacuate them, get them off that boat. There were many stories from that day, and I can't remember them all just off the top of my head, but it was the scariest thing I think I'd ever been through, weather related. It really, really felt like we were going to have a tornado. And I lived in a house without a basement, and we all were crouched in a bathroom without a window. And you could hear the trees falling and stuff hitting the side of the house. And when we came out, of course there were trees down everywhere, but the thing I'll always remember is I lived just over the hill from here at the station, and there used to be two broadcast towers. There was us and WIKY. And they were about the same height. Wicky's was self-supporting, so it was kind of triangular, and we were just a stick, same one we have out there today. And we went out, and only one tower was up. And that storm took down a 550-foot broadcast tower across the road from here. Our tower lost a guy wire, and by all rights should have collapsed, but did not. And so that's kind of station lore here, too, is that it made it through that particular storm. So anyway, that was back on June the 8th, 1982. Okay, a lot of you are still in here. I figured that would clear the room out. I remember seeing the radar. Jeff Miller did. It was crazy. Yeah, I think, I'm not, we're going to let bygones be bygones. I think we were looking at Channel 7 for whatever reason, and I can't remember the weather guy. It might have been Tim Chewy. Like I said, a few years have passed, 40, how many now? 44 years. That's a lot of years, isn't it? But all they had back then was, they called it color radar. It was six levels of reflectivity, and then they would blink the highest two. But you couldn't see storm structure very well. Like you couldn't see an inflow notch or a hook. You could see a hook if it was a big hook. and you didn't have velocity data, so you couldn't look and say, oh my gosh, we've got 80-mile-an-hour winds. It just looked like a big red storm coming in. And they broke in with a bulletin, and then we were watching 14. Chuck Lofton was on here, and he said, you shouldn't be watching me, you should be in your basement. And he got in trouble for that. I guess you're not supposed to say don't be watching, but he was right. We were in a basement, or we weren't in a basement. My friend and his family went to a basement. They heard that. I lived in a house without one. Okay, let's see. What else? What time will the rain hit Owensboro in the morning? It'll probably come around sunrise and before. William Raleigh says it was the old nickel plate line. That's right, east-west through Fort Wayne on the elevation, right, through downtown. Okay, what got me wanting to be a meteorologist? Well, that probably had a lot to do with it, being right in that weather. And my dad would go out and look at storms, look at the sky, I don't know what he was looking at either. And we would go out if a big storm was coming in. And I didn't actually see a funnel cloud. And this is kind of ironic. It was a couple days after I graduated from college. So that would have been 1986. I was home waiting to get a call on a job. And that was May the 15th. Of 1986, and there was a funnel cloud, and I think it did some damage out by St. Mary's Hospital on Belmead. If I'm not mistaken, there was a apartment building that lost a roof or something, and Kevin D. was on the air with that one. And we saw the funnel, went out, and you could see the swirling and everything. And that was really the only time that ever happened. I'm going to put a video in here, so I got to sit down here to run the thing. Anyway, fun times, old times, getting older all the time. Deborah likes to hear this. Oh my gosh. Maybe I'll throw a party. There'll be about 4 people there, and Deborah will be one of them, and I'll just talk about the old days, right? It's kind of a hazard of getting older as you talk about stuff 40 years ago like everybody cares. But that was really a big one. I think until, I'm trying to think when the next big thing was, we actually had a big storm on June the 8th, 1995. Of course, by then I was working here, and in that case, it was similar. It was like a derecho. It was a line, the Boeing line, and it came in. And the reason I remember that one very distinctly, my wife was pregnant with one of our kids, Justin, I guess, and that was, anyway, we had a young son, Patrick, was 2, and my wife was helping set up for a church social out on the west side of Evansville. And back then, you didn't have cell phones, so there was no way to warn them. I was looking at the radar thinking somebody needs to, so I called the church, and nobody was answering the phone. They were out putting up tents, which would soon get knocked down. And she got caught on a road trying to get to my parents' house to pick up Patrick. They were babysitting, and the tree fell. And you think about how little communication we used to have. But here at work, I remember getting on the PA here and saying, everybody, get in the shelter. We had kind of an area here in the middle of the building. It knocked our power out, and we were operating off of a big, like a semi-truck generator. They brought one in for days after that, and it took part of the roof of the studio off, so we had water coming in out there. And so we did the whole show at 10 from my office, which was a little windowless room off the main hall here. And I think we only had 2 mics, so we're handing a microphone back and forth. David James was in there with me. And yeah, that was wild. So that was like the second June 8th storm. Then we wondered if, June 8th was cursed. Now, we haven't had a big June 8th event since that time. But anyway, yes, all kinds of stuff. Lenny Howard's 58, and he likes the old stories. Did I ever get to work with Marcia? Never got to see her on the news. Well, yes and no. I never did the weather with Marcia. She retired in July of 1988, and I started here in December of 1988. Marcia was still around and still very active in the community, and she and I did some things together. We did a telethon for Petersburg after the tornado, so that was 1990. And we did, trivia contest, just stuff, where she was the star, and then they'd bring me, the weather punk from the station, and we'd talk. And she was a lot of fun. She was very generous and fun and wild and unpredictable. And so I had a few times where I got to share the stage with Marcia. If you call it that. I mean, the stage was Marcia. You were just kind of there. But yes, so to answer your question, I did do some broadcasting with Marcia. What was the other question? Remember the time I swung the gorilla suit? I did swing on that's right. Bill Vowles remembers the time I was in a gorilla suit. And I used to do a costume bit for Halloween. And it seemed like a good idea to wear a gorilla suit and get a rope up over a beam in the studio and swing around on it, which I did. And yes, Ann Comas was a good sport. She put up with all that, and David too, David James. But they were, I think, frightened that I might have finally snapped. All right, before I snap, I've got an out and about for you since it is Monday night here. We like to try to get everybody to take a look at these. And this one I actually did, when was it? It would have been in November. You'll notice the trees are still colored for fall. This is a bagpipe player. So check it out. This guy was really good. His name's Adam Biggie, and he's going to tell you all about how to play a bagpipe. And all I have to do is click on it and go like that. I'm Jeff Lyons, out and about today with Adam Biggie, a piper.
Yes, sir.
I don't run into many pipers in my day-to-day operations. How'd you get into this line of work?
I've been doing it for about 16 years or so.
Yeah?
And basically, when I came on the fire department 18 years ago, they asked me if I wanted to start playing the pipes. There was the Evansville Firefighters Pipe and Drum Corps. And about 6 months later, they sent me to Valley Crucis in, I believe, North Carolina, where there's a pipe and drum school. Bagpipes have a really deep history with public services, for one. Primarily because the Scots and the Irish are the ones that brought the music with them, and they took the jobs no one wanted when they first came to this country. Police and fire. Those are the jobs that people, either you didn't like you or you got killed. And so when they brought that music with them, they played it whenever they lost one of their own. And so it became kind of ubiquitous with police and fire and even military.
Show me how it works. How do you get music out of the bagpipes?
All right. So these are quite a contraption. They're composed basically of the drones. They allow for you to play for an extended amount of time without having to take a break. This is the chanter. This is where you actually get the tune. It's got a series of holes drilled in it. It's kind of like a glorified recorder. I have only 9 notes to work with. No flats, no sharps. Just 9 notes. That's why a lot of Celtic or Scottish music kind of sounds the same in the way it starts and ends. It's because it's very repetitive. You only have 9 notes to work with. And since it's a bagpipe, there is, of course, a bag. You air this bag up till it feels about like you're squeezing a football under your arm. Once you get it that full, you kind of strike it to bring the air to these, and they will start making noise. A long drone. This one plays, this is a bass drone. It plays an A. These are 2 tenor drones. They play A an octave higher. Once you get those locked in and sounding okay, you have to tune them. Then you will blow a little bit harder, squeeze a little more, and this thing will start squeaking, and that's where you get your melody. And then it's just you're regulating air pressure while blowing. It's kind of like wrestling a wooden octopus, but it's a lot of fun.
I gotta ask, where do you practice? Because you can't really put a sock in this thing,
Not
right?
so much, no. I'm lucky enough to live out in the country, and so I will go outside and I will play, and the only people that complain are my dogs. And they like to come up and sing along with me when I'm playing outside. I think one of my favorite tunes is probably going to be called, I believe it's called 343, The Fallen. It was written to commemorate the people that we lost on 9/11. Usually I'm thinking that I want to do this in a way that will help give a little bit of comfort and closure to the people that got left behind. It's almost, it's kind of ghostly when you cut that last note and then there's just dead silence. you can hear the people around you breathing. It really is. It'll put chills down your spine. That's hard. It's not an easy thing to do, but one of the good things about the bagpipes is you can cry while you play, so it works.
Adam, thanks so much. I've learned a lot about the bagpipes. This is fascinating, and I'm so glad you could share some time with us to talk about it.
Thank you for having me out there. I appreciate it. I like letting people know what we do and the people that we do it for, so it's great.
Okay, with Adam Biggie, I'm Jeff Lyons, out and about. All right, so thanks to Adam Biggie for doing that with me. You can watch all the Out and About adventures. You can go to 14news.com and click on Out and About, and you can look at all of them. I think I've done about 35 of them maybe, or something like that. I have another one coming up here soon. Now that Michael has gone, my production schedule is stretched out a little bit. I don't have as much time to work on them, but there'll be another one coming up soon. Well, I've blown a half an hour out of your evening here. I didn't mean to do that. But anyway, bottom line here is we're going to have a few more showers and thunderstorms overnight, and another round tomorrow, probably between about 6 a.m., noon, 1 o'clock. And then it gets really hot, and I'll have details on that on the weather tonight on 14 News at 10. Until then, I hope you stay safe, and thanks for watching.